Hi folks, this is Mr. Lassard here, bringing you some basic information about Teams. If you're new to Teams, this is probably going to be super helpful. Maybe you'll have to watch it a couple times to get all the stuff. If you've used Teams before, this might be a little bit interesting as well to reveal some of the hidden features of Teams. What we're going to cover in this video, number one, is how to set up a team. Number two, how to navigate basically through the platform. Number three, how to do a video call. Number four, how to set up assignments. And number five, some information about notifications and best practices using Teams. So as you get started, you're probably going to notice that there's this sidebar. This sidebar is your main navigation tool. It's actually interesting that your Outlook calendar is linked here as well. But you're probably going to want to start here at all your teams. And I will use this sample class as an example. So there's a couple ways that you can add people to a team. Normally, at the start of a school year, the district will pre-populate your teams with students in your classes by their PowerSchool roster. If you're doing this in summer school or if you want to modify those teams, there are ways to do that as well. And so, first of all, you can join or create a team. I already clicked that, and I created this sample class. Right now, there's nobody in it, okay? So I can add them in a couple of ways. Number one, I could get a link to the channel, copy that link, and send it out to people. They click that link, they're able to access the channel. Another way that I can do this is I can add students directly to my team by clicking Add Member. Just click those three dots and then click Add Member. So if I added kids in my advisory like Janice Machuca, she would be right here. It is a little bit of a pain to do this sometimes because the students are only listed by first name and a number. Most of the time this works out fine because the first kid that shows up on the list is usually a kid that you have in your roster. I don't know if that'll be true during the summer though. You can also add teachers. So if I wanted to add Mr. Johnson, I would find him here. Okay. And you'd add those people to your team. There's a few other ways that you can do this, right? You can get the link to the team here. You can manage team, which would be things like changing who has access to things. So owner versus member, you can restrict some abilities that you have. So let's say that you're co-teaching with another teacher. You might want to make both of those people owners of the team. Channels, settings, analytics, some stuff that you're probably not going to mess around with too much, but like, aesthetically, you can change the picture. Okay. Most of the stuff you're not going to do in Manage Team, but it's here if you want to mess around with it. So basic navigation of teams, two things that you want to be focused on are the sidebar and then this little back to all teams. Sometimes you get stuck in a team or you get stuck somewhere and you kind of got to back out of it this way. So anyways, next thing we're going to cover is making an assignment. So if I went into my sample class, come on, load. And I clicked assignments, I could create an assignment here. And I could make a title, sample number 2. I can add instructions here. I can add resources like readings, files that they might access. Really, in the world of digital learning, providing written instructions is more important than ever because kids are going to want to go back to them. I would definitely use this instruction tab when you're creating an assignment, and I would definitely link any resources you want students to use here at the Add Resources, not just in the Files tab, which we'll cover later. You can make this worth a certain number of points. This will help you to add in the grades into Unified Classroom. Some people prefer not to use the assignment feature on Teams at all and just use it through Unified Classroom. That is based on personal preference. But if you do create your assignment in Unified Classroom, you're going to probably want the amount of points here to match as well. So let's just make it 10 points. You can also add it to additional classes, right? So if you want to not do this 4 times for your 4 classes, and then you can set not just a due date, but a time. It is so important that you set firm due dates with online learning because the accountability without those due dates becomes really messy. And Teams is nice because it allows you to see who turned it in on time and who turned it in late and how late it was, right? So if a student turned it in an hour late, you might not dock them the same points that you dock somebody that turned it in 2-3 days late. And that's helpful to know. So anyways, you'd assign this, and it says an error occurred assigning the additional classes. That's because there's nobody in that additional class. And as you can see, it's going to send out a notification to all the students that they have a new assignment that's in sample class. And that activity will show up here as a little notification, and it will show up down here at the bottom as a little banner. And you can change the way that those show up. So here in sample class, if I go up to our 3 dots here in the top right, I can manage my channel notifications. So notify me there's every time that there is a new post in this channel. If you wanted to be notified, you could have it, only show in your feed, like it only shows up here where it's activity, or you could have it, show the banner and the feed where the little thing would pop up down here for a second or two, and then it would give you a little red dot here in activity. You can also have it include the replies. So let's say you put out a post and you want kids to reply with an answer, or you want kids to let you know how they're feeling about something, and you want to be attentive to that, you could also include those replies. This can get a little bit cumbersome, so this is up to your personal preference. So that, I think, covers the creation of a team. There are a few other things to look at within the team. There is a spot for files where you can upload reference materials that all students would be able to access. Right now the file is going to be empty because I haven't uploaded anything, but you would just click upload. You can even create a new document and add it directly in here. You can do a couple of different things, right? You can add things in a few different ways. And then class notebook is not going to be set up either, but this would be something that links to your OneNote class notebooks. And so if we just create a blank notebook, right, teacher can edit, student can edit, you can change those settings. There are sections, like think of a binder, like this section is your handouts, this section is your class notes. This is a whole other can of worms, so I'm just showing you that it's here, and that if you've used OneNote at all, this should be really intuitive. But this is definitely something you might want to look into and learn about if you're interested in using class notebooks. And basically it would look something like this once it loads. So one thing about Teams, it uses a lot of RAM on your computer. One thing that, you know, I see a lot of teachers do is they'll have 1,000 tabs open in Google Chrome, and they'll be wondering why things are running slow. Teams and Google Chrome eat up your RAM. If you want things to run faster, um, you're going to want to reduce the workload of your computer. It's already slow no matter what. So if you're trying to run a bunch of stuff in the background, that's going to be even slower. And so you have your class notebook. And so students would be able to go through OneNote and access this class notebook. There's a lot more here, so I'll just leave it at that. Going back to the general part of this class, you would see at the bottom a number of things that you can add as a post, right? So you can add, links, you can add emojis, you can add, GIFs, you can add stickers, and then right here, kind of conspicuously hidden, is the Meet Now button, which is where you would click to start a video call. And so you can either schedule a meeting for later, you can add subjects for what it's about, but mainly you would click Meet Now. One thing that's really nice about Teams chat, not sure why my video is not working here because it's currently being used by the software that I'm recording with. But anyone that's in this team would show up in this list as under suggested. And you could click them, right-click them, and invite them to the meeting. You can also invite people, like I could click Miss Bailey's name, and I could invite her to this meeting. If I did that, Teams would then notify her, would like literally call her phone or her computer and say, Mr. Lessard wants you to join this chat. And then shortly they would join the chat, and it's pretty straightforward, the same sort of thing as Teams. One thing I like about the Teams video call is that you have this raise your hand function. Although Zoom has something similar to that with the clapping and the thumbs up reaction, the raising your hand stays up. This is like so valuable for facilitating a video call with students because you want to facilitate participation, but kids, if you have two kids try to talk at once, you might end up with no kids talking because they don't want to talk over each other. So being able to raise your hand and keep it up allows you as the teacher to then tell them when it's their time to speak and just have a lot more facilitation skill. There's also, sharing your screen, muting your video, simple stuff. You can record, you can, type numbers. Okay, so there's a lot of video features you probably wouldn't use. One thing that you might want to see is meeting notes. You can take notes about your meeting, and then those notes will show up at the end of the meeting right there in the general spot, right? So if I took notes, so you can capture some notes, right? And then let's say I end the call. Right, those notes then show up here. So maybe you can, put a couple of students in charge of taking notes on the meeting. Maybe you can have it rotate through different students in any call. Maybe you can do those notes by yourself, like reminding kids, this is what we just talked about. This is what we just talked about. And so that's another strong feature as well. Next, we're going to talk about some of these other features right here. There's a chat feature where you can chat directly with, students and other teachers. This is really good tool. You can see when people are available, when they're away, when they're in a meeting. Um, overall, it's overall it's pretty powerful when you want to get in touch with a student. Um, let's see, is there anything else I haven't covered? You can access files and quickly upload them. That's pretty straightforward. You have an activity feed which shows you, any notifications you may have missed. Uh, but overall, that's Teams. I would say maybe the last thing I would say is when you have an assignment that's been turned in, the grading of it. Yeah, it's hard for me to show you that because I don't have any students submitting things, but it's really straightforward. You would just click on it, you'd click grade, you'd be able to see them individually. Um, we can answer that if you still have questions later. But I hope this was helpful. I know it's a lot of information, but I hope it was a good overview of some of the features that are here, and you let me know if you have any questions. All right, thank you.